And good morning, everyone. This is the last day of March. So we're going to see some very interesting things happening today. Now we saw the equities take a pretty interesting dive, and that kept bleeding. So we're going to track for those sort of liquidation moves, or maybe new positioning moves into today as well. If you're here for the first time, welcome. My name is Deeyana Angelo, aka Market Stalker D. I have been trading for about 18 years, and I typically specialize in some weird products like copper, gasoline futures, crude oil, platinum, basically things that are not very well covered anywhere else, but we are here to talk about alternative markets, especially if you're somebody who is struggling in equities. Equities are not the only thing to trade out there, but there are some tips and tricks that we can use to trade these. Now, I've got a weekly chart of micro copper up here. So why would I look at the weekly chart if I'm an intraday trader? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First of all, you get the bird's eye view of what the entire few weeks have done, whether maybe the big institutional participants are trying to find a top, and just generally whether there's excess. Are we building volume? Where are we in relation to the weekly volume point of control? And things like that. They can provide us clues as to what we want to do. Now, if I place my volume visible profile just to show the last sort of 3 weeks and going into the fourth week, I can see that we're already hanging below that weekly volume POC. Now, that can be bearish, right? It can be bearish for the product, so that's something to take note. If you look at this high volume node as a supply that's now being created, it's sort of like a ceiling, like a shelf, right? So if you try and go back up, it's likely that, you know, at the very least, you're going to have a slowdown. Maybe it's not going to forever stop the rise, but it's going to for sure add some time, which could provide us some opportunities to do our intraday trading. So this is why I start every week looking at that massive time frame. So we're not going to be trading from there, but it provides context. Now, in a similar vein, if I go down to the daily chart, I can see the same thing happening, right? But now we have a little bit more resolution. So what do we have on the supply and demand side? So tops and bottoms. Let's have a look at that. Granny D in the house. So we have one supply up here. Now, this is more of a range to me for now. It's not necessarily... Oh, let's play longs off of here. Yeah, I'm looking at this as a range. Why? Because usually when something has gone up so far, and then it starts to sort of bleed through this little nearby demand level, typically this demand area is too high up in the overall distribution curve to hold. So I'm, on the basis of that, I'm going to say I'm a little bit bearish on copper. But I don't like to come into the day with any sort of a bias. I like to see how the day develops. So let's continue. So we know the context from large time frames. Let's just have a little look-see on the 4-hour chart before we carry on to the intraday stuff and levels. Yeah, so intraday 4 hours. I mean, that looks very similar. There's a more zoomed in area down here. Yeah, so that's not really serving that much purpose. However, I'm going to pull up in a line right here where the 4-hour demand lies. That's the most visible demand, right? And that's where this whole move came from. It is the originating area for this particular range where we stopped. Now, let's drop down to the 30-minute chart. The first thing that I like to look at is the average daily ranges. Why are they important? Is because they are exhaustion points, okay? Exhaustion areas are effectively areas where we expect a slowdown or a complete reversal. Now, sometimes you have to put context into that. A level is ultimately just a level. So if you see that the price overshoots it and ignores it, then we have another piece of information there, right? So we have, for example, the market goes into a single direction day, gets up to the exhaustion point, let's say ADR high, overshoots it and kind of keeps going, but then sort of retraces down to the ADR high from the upside, right? You can actually use that as a backtest thing. It's not my favorite thing to do, and I want to have some options levels around there when I'm trying that. But it is not a bad choice to jump into potentially continuing trending day when the exhaustion areas are busted. So that's one way of using them. But for all other days, we effectively have the assumption that the exhaustion areas will act as reversal points. Now, I like to use London session specific reversal points, exhaustion areas, as well as the full 24 hours. Now, London is already exhausting its own average daily range low, which was located at 506.30, which was here. Okay. Let's put a label on that. So that one's already, exhausted. We might turn around here, but like I said, I'm looking primarily for shorts. I'm not too keen on going long in and around this particular zone. All right, so the ADR high is all the way up at 517.15. Now that's the full 24-hour zone. And I didn't do this before because I know that some people are asking me about, Dee, how do you get your levels and what are they? So, every Monday we can do this sort of analysis to start with a fresh chart and then to, effectively explain why I have all these different things on my chart. Now, obviously, I have some automated charting indicators on my other screens. They do help me automate this process quite a bit so that I don't have to click manually. But if you're a new trader, I kind of feel that if you just sit down and expect the indicator to do everything for you, you sort of never get the full context of being really aware of exactly why you're using that level. So, sometimes you can have a line on the chart and you completely ignore it and you're like, whatever. But going through the same sort of levels day in, day out for a year, for at least a year, that's going to set some really good habits, and it's going to have your attention towards those levels. Now, remember that we talked about PIM with Jerome D last Wednesday. So that's exactly what this is. Sometimes we can be completely blind, have blinkers on, and even though there's VWAP up here, we don't necessarily see it because we're looking at some, support zone over here. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go long. And then you run into VWAP on the other side and you're like, oh, what happened? And then you look at it and go, okay, I forgot about VWAP. So, the more you can set a systematic process to your style of trading, the easier this gets, right? Not easy. Trading is never easy. But it gets a little easier. It just puts your attention to where it needs to be. And for me, these levels are, reasonably important. Now, the next thing I like to do is to look for the distribution curves, aka the value area. What is the value area? Distribution curve from the previous day. So what is the general theory about the distribution curve? That the further away we get from it, we can get that snap back into the middle. One caveat today is that we are actually opening inside value, which doesn't have to be so unusual for Mondays. And the value low is at 508.50. 508.45 actually. So I'm just going to change the color of that. So this is London value low. It is not NYMEX value. That will come later in the day. I can tell you where it is. But for now, we're just going to be doing this. I like to put my value areas in purple. Why? Because there's no particular reason to it. It looks nice. And the value high is 511.30. And obviously I'm still waking up from the weekend and chilling out and all of that. So having my second coffee in an attempt to get my brain going. See, I would never get people who are just going to sit in the morning and start clicking buttons. It's like, you don't even know like what's happening. Like, wake up first, get understanding, and then we can trade. All right, so those are some of the basic levels from just the regular sort of profile / exhaustion areas. I am going to look at the options activity as well. Okay, 503.10 is also ADR low. 503.10. Now, if we exhaust these areas already and they're not available as fresh virginal lines, we can then look to trade either in a range, so in between those lines, or look for that single direction day, right? So it's all just a matter of context. But here we go. That one is not exhausted. Let's also move this one into a dotted line, and then we can kind of have a visual representation of what has been done. Oh, I've got my chair set for the main broadcast from last week. That always makes me look like I'm like taking up very little space on the screen. Because again, every time I'm on the main broadcast, they sort of put me really high up somehow in the frame. It's weird, so I have to like change my chair. Anyways, let's have a look at what Tostino is saying. Am I excited about the auto tariffs? I'm seeing copper absolutely dunking based on the last time US did auto tariffs, easy trend trading. Yeah, I mean, it's not just the tariffs, it's a whole bunch of stuff. There's some talk about copper being the new metal that the hedge funds are using as a protection from inflation. So this is very likely why they've decided to do this. Now, easy trend trading, yes and no, because obviously you have to keep an eye on something called the volatility of the copper index. And not every single day is going to be a mad trending day. But yes, copper does trend more often than some. However, traditionally, when it, at the times of the year when copper does move, it trends better, right? I mean, so does platinum, if we're gonna, nitpick. Platinum likes to trend nicely too. Platinum went on a bit of a run during the Asia session. That could be interesting. We rolled straight into July, so let me just see whether that rollover is over. Say that 10 times fast. Is the rollover over? Is the rollover over? Okay, straight into J. Yeah, so we pretty much finished the roll. So we can trade platinum as well. Second point that I like to check, just like an overall market state, is what the volatility index is doing. Yeah, platinum sitting from 23, 24. I like it to be at 25, but I mean, I can see that that's not necessarily a hindrance. Like the trend is up on the volatility index. Copper has diminished a little bit. So let's just maybe go into here. And this is a delayed one. So let's go to intraday. I actually tried to pay for this, and I just couldn't get past the stupid, oh, talk to an expert. And it's like, I don't want to talk to anyone. I just want to sign up. Like, I'm sick of talking. I don't want to talk to more people. Just get me in. Like, you've sold it to me. I'm paying for it. And I couldn't do it. So CME, what the hell, you know? Come on. We're not like in the 90s where you had to have a sales call with every single person that you're signing up for a £20 service or $20 service for. Anyway, mini rant over. Okay, so what are we doing? Yeah, it's sort of taking a little bit of a dive here. So, you know, I'm still going to look for a trend. But, yeah, it's been sort of declining somewhat, right? Let's have a look at them one day. Still holding though. I mean, throughout the entirety of February and March, we've had copper behaving. And you can see the underlying price keeps going down, but the effectively VIX is holding. So yeah, that looks alright. Looks alright. But yeah, I'm going to be a little bit more open to both sides of the story. Now, Tostino also says, so am I excited by tariffs? I'm not that excited about anything, really. At this point, I'm pretty much dead on the inside. Just joking. Yeah, I don't get excited. You know, it's just another day. And whatever the market does, however, you know, beautiful it looks, it's still down to me to figure out what is going on and to make sure that I'm not doing stupid things and to actually start to plan out my day like I do every single day. So if the opportunities come, great. If they're not there that day, also great. You just walk away. You also want to know, why did the London Exchange time change? It's not the time of the exchange, it's the... Okay, so Topstep is a Chicago-based company, right? So everything schedule-wise that we're doing here is anchored to the Chicago time. And that means in March and in November, when the USA changes their clocks for the daylight saving purposes, over on the other side of the world, we don't quite change at the same time for no particular reason whatsoever. So there's usually a disparity between the clocks, right? So we have just over on this side of the world also changed to the British Standard Summertime. And now we're back in sync. Now we run the London show at 3:30 a.m. Chicago time, okay? So whatever that is, you know, over here, that's when the show is running. And this is why for the last 3 weeks, when we have the lovely disparity in March of USA changing the clocks and UK going, no, we don't think we should change just yet, we run the London stream an hour earlier. So I don't know whether that's always going to be the case, especially if we start bringing in more broadcasting for this side of the world, because I know there are some plans to have like another segment and, you know, to maybe make the show run pretty much 24/7, like all day long broadcasting for everybody. And, you know, in that vein, I do hope that they bring Eurex to the picture. Perfect time for me to do my Eurex Eurex plug. Vote for Eurex. Vote for DAX, which is what I usually like to trade during London. But there you go. Yeah, so the reason why the show was starting at 8:30 last 3 weeks, whereas now we're back to 9:30, is because of the out of sync daylight savings change. So yeah, bit of an oddity. And we're going to have another one in November. We had one last year as well. However, the one in November is only for like 1 week. For some odd reason, this one is like for 3 weeks. So yeah, I was not very happy with that because, you know, I want the initial balance to be extended. And when I started at like 8:30, obviously we're like still halfway through the initial balance. So by the time that I would end the stream normally, I would usually find my setup because that's around the time when I start looking for them and I get a good understanding of what's happening in in the world. But with the you know, such an early start, like I did okay. You know, I'm partially on a combine because it was like so early, but also because I had a couple of weird things happening with the API bridge, and it's only my account because it's so early. Like my Topstep Live was the first ever live Topstep X account. I don't know whether you guys know that. And there's still, every so often, there's still some weirdness that goes on there. So yeah, I'm just very careful not to get stuck in a position when nobody is around to help. So that's another reason. Maybe that'll change, you know, once we, at some point, get, like I said, develop the European side a bit more. They might have a risk team that's like 24/7 and maybe a couple of people over on this side of the world as well. But yeah, until then, I just have to be a little bit more careful with what I'm doing. And it's not to do with anybody else. It's just my account, okay? Trading Nickel says, I passed my combine in 3 weeks. Feels way more like trading as a risk managed trader versus trying to get it fast out of all the fast losses. Thanks to many great coaches. Yes, so Trading Nickels, you've hit the nail on the head there, man. I mean, this is exactly, this is exactly the point that we're all trying to drill into your heads. That if you've never been funded and stayed funded, so if you're like burning through accounts like they're going out of fashion, that's doing F all for your skills. We're trying to keep it PG. Literally doing nothing for your trading skills. It doesn't provide you with the ability to maintain longevity and consistency in the future funded account. I've spoken about this before, that I'm not really into this whole prop firm wars that we generally have going on with, oh, we're offering 1 day to pass, we're offering 2 days to pass. Hey, now we're offering no days to pass. You get straight into a funded account. It's like, what are we doing, guys? Like 90% of people are not ready. They're not ready. So to me, that's the, I've spoken about it on my channel, which you can find underneath this video as well. They've kindly put all my links there. And I've spoken about it in the recent video that I've done, Should You Copy Trade, right? This is where the predatory nature of certain prop firms comes in. But unfortunately, it's an industry now. So if everybody else is doing 2 days and 1 day to pass, Topstep can't be like the only one that comes in and goes, hey, we're just going to maintain the 10 days that we always used to have. But in all honesty, I think the 10 days to pass minimum was actually a better thing. I know that it was very useful for me. Because, we have been, okay, let me just explain what I'm trying to get at this thing. So I've got the initial balance low and potential value area low as my first point of contact. And potentially this VWAP and a supply that we came from up here. So that's like an Asia high intraday supply. If we can get up there, that will be like a pretty decent way to run any kind of a short. If we never manage to get there and kind of keep bleeding and then VWAP aligns with the initial balance low, that would give me a better chance to maybe run the short from the initial balance low, because there will be like some confluences. But back to the prop firm wars. You have an industry that Topstep actually created, right? So, we can't be sticking to the rules that people were against, especially because sometimes you get advanced traders that come, and honestly, at this point, unless I'm testing something or, I'm using it as an educational showcase, staying in a combine forever, it does nothing for me. However, now that we can't have XFAs, I do use combines to run similar trades just purely to track my statistics, because on the live we don't really have statistics. Over here we do. So it just provides me a better sort of insight into Coach T with your average holding time is 54 minutes and 41 seconds. Your patience seems good. Well, thank you, Coach T. That is very nice of you to say. Yeah, so, but if you have a new trader who has never maintained an account past like the 2 weeks, or you're blowing them up in like a day or so, it's not that you're like, oh yeah, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. You are trading with too much size, very likely, and or over trading. There's always those two, right? So there's like trading with too much size and over trading. And I was actually in a session with Coach Hoop on Friday, and we touched upon how much risk do I allow myself on a new combine that is like 50K, 100K, 150K. And I said, well, generally I try, on 100K. And in general, like I don't really want to put in a big hole of more than about $300. And I kind of maintain that for my 50K combines as well, because I can do that. However, some people, instead of going, oh, I'm going to maintain a 300 personal data loss limit, not per trade, per the entire day. So the entire day, like whatever you're trading, whether that's 2 trades or 40 trades. And I see the opposite in, scalpers who, or wannabe scalpers, but not really scalping properly. They're just doing it because they can't. Like most scalpers that I've seen, the trades that they take are highly suspect. They're like, it's like, dude, okay, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, it's just going to be a quick trade. And then when it starts not working out, because they don't really know exactly where their edge is, they get lost, right? And this is where, I'm not for scalping for very, very new traders. Like, I'm talking like less than sort of 6 months, maybe even 2 years. I would consider that a new trader. Why? Because I believe that you need to know the context before you can identify the day that is appropriate for scalping. And if something is trending, if you're in a trending day and you caught a really good trade location right off the bat, if you don't have the skills to recognize that, and then you just keep scalping. And again, during Coach Hoop's session, I also mentioned the guy in a prop firm who was a bit of a, he was not a nice man. Bit of an a-hole. And but he had a point, because I thought, coming into the prop world, that I needed to do a whole bunch of trading. So I was hopping in and out, and this is why I call those sorts of traders hopping in and out of positions grasshoppers, because I was trying to be one of them, but very quickly I realized that's not the point. So I was like trying to get in on this trending move, then I scalped a few ticks, and then I lost a few, and then I scalped a few, lost. So I did about 6, 7, 8 trades, whatever. And all in the space of about 30 minutes. And this guy, who was in on this trending move that he identified as well, he was like, right, so how many ticks did you get there? Like net with all the commissions and stuff. And I don't know if it was like 12 or something. Like, it was pretty pathetic amount of ticks. And he's like, yeah, well, while you were hopping in and out like a lunatic, I grabbed 60 ticks and only paid one round turn. And that was sort of like a slap in the face to me, but a good one, right? The one that kind of takes you out of your trance. So I was like, okay, well, I was a swing trader. Like, what the hell am I doing? Trying to scalp my way around a trending move. What a stupid thing to do. And it sort of put me on the path to find a middle ground between what I was already doing as a swing trader at that point for 5 years and an intraday trader. So this is why I maintain like sort of a medium accuracy, medium risk reward. And, you know, I've had a long-standing accuracy of around 43% with a profit factor that floats anywhere from 1.3 all the way up to 2.3 R, right? So right now with the percentage, because I was a bit more scalpy, again, the days called for it on some of my products that were rolling. So I couldn't quite do those big trending moves. So I was taking 30 ticks, 35 ticks, and that dragged out my profit factor down a little bit, but it boosted my trade win by about 5% from my overall percentage. So yeah. But yeah, when it's rollover, I find that I am also a little bit struggling. And that's usually when I go for shorter trades that are more scalpy, if you can. But yeah, trading nickels. Exactly what we should be doing is looking whether our strategy matches the day type, I suppose is what I'm trying to say here. And, you know, sizing down so that you don't have that emotional involvement of freaking out because you're in with too much size. Whenever you lose, like let's say you're in 150K, you started your new combine with like $4,500 maximum drawdown, and you are using $300 per trade as a risk. That's okay if you're only going to trade once that day. Now, be honest, how many of you only do one trade a day? I know I do sometimes, but have you ever thought about that? Being so good to sit and wait to identify one setup that's going to bring you like 100 to 200 ticks on a very low size. Isn't that the real thing that people should be looking at? Lowest risk possible with the maximum, the most maximum reward possible on that day. Isn't that what risk management should be? But what we see, and you know, if you are doing that, you can afford to risk the full 300 of the personal daily loss limit on one trade. So you can trade a mini, okay? But what I constantly see is something completely different. I see people who are scalpers, they size up because I'm only going to grab a few ticks. And then they use 300 per trade. And then they do 40 trades in a day. Do you not see the problem with that? It's like, from a system design point of view, to me, that's like risk of ruin is like in the billions. Like there's no single chance that you're going to survive a $4.5 grand drawdown trading 1, 2, 3, 5 minis 40 times a day. There's just no way, because your risk is too high. Like if you go on even a 10% accuracy bleed, that's your account gone. That's your account gone. Bye-bye. $149. Whoosh, out the window. You might as well do that, right? So I don't know. Yeah, to me, it never really made all that much sense how people are approaching these. But obviously now we have the VIP groups. What do all of us preach? What do all of us preach? Size down, slow down. Size down, slow down. Size down, slow down. And yet, people are still, you know, we've had some folk that decided to go like full porting in the beginning stages of combines. And some of them are still, like I know that in my group, we have a couple people who keep doing the same thing. They reset. They have one massive day, not following the 50% consistency rule, and then generating like, I don't know, 50K in one day on a combine. Like what? Like why? It's just why? I don't get it. And then they've been in a drawdown ever since. So now they're just like bleeding money. It's like, why do you do that? And then they reset, do exactly the same thing. It's like, change nothing and nothing changes. But, you know, like I said, unless we get we're kind of talking behind the scenes how we can make the VIP even more. Like, for example, there was some ideas kicking around that you're not going to be able to reset when you want, that you're going to have to do, attendancy. So it's like, are you attending the classes? And then if you do get yourself into trouble, that you will have to be benched on the side until you explain to us why you need that reset, and that if you do the same thing again, you are actually out because you're not trying to change, you're not trying to follow, and we would like to give somebody else an opportunity to be there, to learn, and to really want to apply themselves, because right now what's happening is that we have maybe about 5 to 10 people per group, if that, who are really trying and they are really there and listening. And then all of the other people, some of them have never even stepped in Discord. So it's like, do you want to learn, or do you just want, a free combine? And if that's what you're after, well, I don't see why, because they just blow through them. So it's like just 3 months of a waste of time for everybody. But yeah, so we are going to put in some interesting control systems going forward. We are learning as we're like trying to get the VIP program off the ground. And, we know that it's working because those people who are attending and really trying and listening and following the rules, they're doing well. But it's all of the others who are just really struggling and not trying to change anything, When are we selling gold? Mo was saying. I don't know. I've actually gone away from gold because I'll tell you what, I don't like what gold is doing, and I'll tell you why. If we go back to this day. Do you know how big these candles are? This is a 30-minute chart, by the way. So let's see. Okay, so this one is 137 ticks wide. 137 ticks in 30 minutes. This one, which came as a post and white cut sort of setup. This one was 166 ticks wide. Now, even if I was trading micros on that, I would have had to use, because the way I scale my stops, I effectively have to go with whatever, the volatility of the product is doing. I would have had to use like 130 ticks for my stop. But look at the type of the moves that follow. There's no follow through, right? There's follow through out of hours. And in fact, Asia has been really nice for trending on gold, but like this is a bit of a nightmare. If you look at DAX has candles that are big sometimes, but at least you get like a decent follow through of like 300 ticks after. This one is like, okay, I would have had to front run the failed auction here and maybe try a couple of times. So again, that reduces accuracy. And then I would have maybe gotten 1 hour. So to me, there's a problem with the mechanistic nature of this market at the moment for the style that I'm trading. It might be that for some others, during NYMEX, during COMEX, you absolutely love gold. But I've, just looking at how it moves, I would be more inclined to trade it during Asia if I could somehow not sleep and stay awake, right? Someone's asking, how do I access the new dashboard? I don't know, man. It's USA only. I don't even have it because I'm in London. So I think it's by invite only still. But they're not inviting those of us who are across the pond. It's only Americans right now, so yeah. Tostino says, real brokerages want you to actively trade for the commissions. They also tell you to invest in funds because of the holding phase. It's all to extract money from you. Yeah, that used to be the case, Tostino. There is a thing with introducing brokers that is actually illegal. And it's called churning. It means that if you've introduced a whole bunch of clients to a brokerage and you're just effectively doing a ton of trading, but there's no real profits in there, that's called churning, right? And it is looked at by the regulators. So what you're saying that used to be the case like in the 90s and 2000s, but they're not really allowed to do that anymore. So they're not allowed to cold call you in a day and go, hey, are you trading today? Why not? It's so great. So they, that's illegal, right? And too much pressure, like they have to have a very balanced way of introducing losses and profit potential. If it's not a balanced thing, you are in breach of regulations. Things have changed a lot recently. I know that brokerages have this thing of, having a bad, like there was that joke. So the joke went, it's really cold outside when you see a stockbroker with pockets in his own, with hands in his own pockets. Wow, I messed that up completely. It's like so early. So it's so cold outside that even the stockbroker has his hands in his pockets. So that was the joke. Yeah. But now, they're not actually allowed to do that. They're not, even us who have the Series 3 and maybe we want to go down the route of a CTA or introducing introducing broker. And if we have like our clients, we wouldn't be allowed to tell them, yeah, this is so profitable. Yeah, come over. You'll be a millionaire in like 3 days. You would have to say, yeah, it's pretty risky. You can lose a lot of money. Like the profit and losses have to be absolutely mentioned equally without glorifying the profit side of it, if that makes sense. So, do you not trade ES during the London session? I don't. I'm not an equities trader. In fact, Mango Heist, I don't even pay for equities on my live. I only pay for NYMEX and COMEX. Go figure. I can make money without actually trading equities. I'm not an equities trader. I've said that at the beginning of the stream, and I say it at the beginning of every single stream, that I specialize in alternative products that are not represented well anywhere else. There's copper, there's platinum, there's gasoline futures, there's crude oil, there's, natural gas. Stop being so obsessed with equities. They can be irrational. When equities go into a single direction day on a tiny volume, everybody gets run over. We see it. We can see you. We can see you. We can see what you're doing. Everyone blows up accounts. But what you're supposed to be, like I said it on Coach Hoop's session on Friday as well, that ES normally turns around in a certain part of the day. But I said, am I going to be doing that today? When I see a B-shaped profile and a potential for this to just turn into a liquidation day because of the time of the month, end of the month? No, of course not. And yet many people were going, oh, I'm going long now. It's like, are you? And then, oh no, it didn't work. Oh, it didn't on a liquidation day. I wonder why. So yeah. So no equities here. I can mention DAX if we ever get it, because DAX moves and it's one of my products. But no, we're going to be talking about copper, like Mick said from the listening. Dee, you trade the weirdest. And he's right. I pick the products that move and they're smooth. So that's what I look for. I don't look for spiky movement. I want something that moves very nicely. All right. So it seems like we do have a bit of a potential to run maybe a long. So let me just see what the options are doing. Okay, so we have GEX3 at 507. Let me just put that on the line. Put it not on the line. Put the line on the chart. God, it's Monday. Seriously. Guys, take it slow on Monday, because I've noticed that, after the weekends of resting and stuff, I just like my verbal side. And okay, English is not my mother tongue, but still. All right, so we have Gex 3 here. Yeah, Gex 3 here. Said that really weird. If we cannot break it, then that's still bearish. But if we manage to get a pretty nice sort of reversal from here on, that could be a nice little scalp long up to VWAP, or at least up to the initial bounce low. So I am gonna front run that. What are the big boys doing? Okay, somebody's selling, but that was a while ago. So let's just try with one, because I'm kind of expecting to experience some drawdown here. And if it would be good if I actually go to the micro contract as well, where I'm trying to execute. So yeah, I'm gonna use a 35 tick stop here. What did I say? 507. And I mean, some of you might be like locks, where you wake up bright and early and your brain is working. But I was a musician and a nighttime worker for a long time. And the night is my thing, right? I only started sleeping through the night very late in my life. So maybe when I started working in offices, that was like what? That was 32, 33 back in 2012. And even then, it wasn't particularly natural to me. I was always like struggling. So yeah, maybe locks can function at optimal peak value in the morning, but I'm just like, it doesn't matter how much I try and wake up and how much coffee I have and everything. My brain just cannot digest complex pieces of information until about midday. And then I'm like, oh, and really sometimes I don't really wake up until like 7 p.m., which is actually stupid, but hey ho. It's called the late chronotype. So we're the, it's not the owl, because that's a night owl, isn't it? I'm thinking of, being night owl. Is it the lion chronotype? I don't know. I need to look that up before I say something. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Paul says, good to see you, Paul. TopstepTV always tells us about the events, but I'm amazed how many traders don't pay attention. Yeah, man, I'm with you, Paul. So we had the NFP release, like when we first started the VIP program, and I said it in my room. I said, guys, NFP, everybody flat. I do not want to see any blown accounts, into the NFP. And they were all kind of flat. They all listened. Well, those that were in there anyways. But the rest of them, I don't know whether they didn't pick it up. They just came to the room and went, what just happened? I was like, oh, only one of the biggest releases that you could ever have. I don't know, NFP, why do you think I told you to be flat, man? It's like algo battle. The algo wars. Firmament says, yeah, when I worked a corporate job, I dreaded the alarm in the morning. Hey, I dread it now, man, but that's another thing. But no, I mean, all joking aside, like I seriously, I naturally wake up around 9 these days, but that used to be much, much later because obviously I was working nights. All right, so I'm looking for this low to maybe have a little bit of a sweep and give me maybe an opportunity to scale in. If this doesn't work, no problem. I'm only in with one micro. It's like I'm risking $43 in this one. I mean, wow, we're gonna break the bank. But that's what you've got to do on these combines. I have some profit. I have $842, so we're kind of slowly pushing there. And this is what I mean by trading consistently. To make this is how you should be trading in your actual. Can you see that? Yeah. In your actual funded accounts. So no drama. If you have a red day, you respect it. You walk away. Yes, it hurts. It's like, I had a red day. Snap out of it. Okay? You're not the only one. You will have red days. So don't be a child. It's okay. It's a red day. You didn't kill anyone. Christ. As long as you don't kill any accounts. It's all that matters. Did you follow the rules? If not, I would be more upset about that than having a red day, to be honest. That's the only thing you should be upset about, not following the rules. What's my current daily personal loss limit? Is that what you mean? 300. That's what I'm sticking to in this one. But I try cut it off at 200. This one I got slipped a little bit, so yeah. Now, we don't have the daily loss limit as a default anymore. So in Topstep X, we have personal daily loss limit. We have a maximum loss limit. So if you want to use it all up on one trade, yes, you can do that. Should you? F no. Especially if you're new and if you haven't been able to get funded and stay funded. So, and whatever happens in the account, in the live account or your XFA, you need to give it your best, give it, your all to to actually survive. So, have Mariah Carey in your thoughts. I'd give my all, right? I'd give my all. Let's not go there. So basically, relying on resets is not going to do anything for you. Okay, it's just going to make you have a crutch that you won't have in the funded account, right? You effectively you're shooting yourself in the foot by resetting whenever you get yourself into trouble. Because think about it. Why do people blow accounts? They get themselves into drawdown. They don't like what's going on. They're unable to get out. And they're like, oh, shit. Now my XFA is in trouble. I got my back against the wall. And I paid, however you paid for the whole Combine plus XFA. It's not, it's not trivial. It's what, 149? So yeah, you pay close to $300 to get your XFA. And if you throw it out, instead of it being another source of income, what do you do with it? But take the $300, open the window, and go, make it rain! It will serve a better purpose, right? But if you stop relying on resets, and you just go, oh my God, I got myself into trouble. Christ. How do I solve this? You don't solve it by clicking the reset button and buying another Combine and starting again. You don't. So try to survive in the Combine, whatever happens, with everything you've got. And even though maybe you might not reach a goal, maybe you'll still blow it. That's okay. But at least you gave it your all. Literally, you give it your all. And what that does, it creates an identity shift in you so that going forward, you will be able to reach your goals. So reaching the goal at once on first try, that's not the real secret, right? The secret is so that you live through the drawdown in a way that you will be living through it as if it's a real account. That's what creates your skills. Not, oh, I left it up, so therefore I'm going to get a reset. Because this is why people blow accounts. It's there's no other reason. You're trading with too much size. You're trading unsustainably. Your risk of ruin is too high. And by the end of it, all you've got to show for is thousands of dollars that you paid for activation fees and XFAs. And you don't have a payout, or you have one. It's slow clap. G-Wiz says, Dee, I use momentum MACD to the downside. I'm short 506.85. Yeah, I have some exhaustion points and exhaustion levels, G-Wiz, that I'm not too keen on trading, like GEX 2. And the options exhaustion projected move down to 504.05. So and my ADR low as well. So I'm not looking for a scalp. Remember that I look for 100 to 160 tick move. So if the space down or up to my desired profit target is problematic and statistically not viable, I'm not going to take the trade. I'm very selective with the types of trades that I take, okay? Furthermore, because this started off as an inside day, I also want to see how we behave, because usually inside days tend to end with some more neutral range-bound moves. And that's why I'm in only with one. I'm kind of testing the waters to see how much space all of this has. But really, this whole area for me is not an area for shorts. It's an area for longs. This area up here, where is the rectangle here? This whole area up here is my area for shorts, okay? Ideally to the top side of this. Until we get there, I'm probably going to be fishing for longs. But if we don't get a good reversal for another 90 minutes, I'm going to wait for the next session. So I'm trying one on a very, very tiny position just to test the waters. If that doesn't work, I'm still defaulting back to my swing extremes. I don't really like doing breakout trades. If I do them, I want to do them on a day when we open with a gap and then we go back to value. This is opening inside value, moving away from it, and just sort of making a move down to statistical averages. So yeah. Breakouts might work, but not for the full 160 to 200 ticks that I want to see from a move, okay? So different trading styles call for different, they call for different approaches, if that makes sense. And different trade locations, you know. You might like the breakouts like this, but I don't. Breakouts into average ranges, they've hurt me a lot more. So I've learned not to do them, so, you know. But yeah, each to their own. There's no, you know, bad way of doing it. If you find that breakouts work for you, go for it, man. It's just, for me, they don't work. But again, I work for, you know, for a much bigger profit target, which requires different trade locations. Maybe you have, you know, 35 ticks for a target, right? In which case, yeah, this is a good trade. You have, you know, you for sure have 35 ticks down to the ADR low. But for me, I have the 4-hour demand that we've just hit here as well. So a whole bunch of stuff that I don't really like to the downside here. I want it glued away from there. And, you know, because we're live on stream, I'm trying to, like, click a button sometimes when I'm not supposed to be clicking a button. But, you know, I want to see some sort of a pullback from here before I can jump in on a short from a better trade location. Now, you know, like I said, loosely, depending on how VWAP behaves, that can be anywhere from up here where the supply came from at 511.35 to the initial balance low at 508.50. So, you know, it just depends how the market generated information develops. I want to be short, just don't want to be short here, if that makes sense. So this is why I'm kind of fishing for longs. And it's not the whole, oh, if it doesn't go short, it's going to go long. Yeah, copper, maybe not. So I might be completely wrong on this. But I want to, you know, I don't want to be a seller here. I'm very, very uncomfortable selling into demand areas, into bottom of the ranges and the large time frames that we've seen. So this is where we are right now, right? So for me, having all of these intraday levels, longs would be more juicy here. But yeah, if I miss a long because of the time of day that I trade, then I want to fish for shorts up here. Now let's see where the NYMEX areas are. So interestingly, NYMEX value low is up at 512. All the way up at 512. So that actually matches my original zone, right? So if we open here, it would be too far out. So it would be over that 1% distance from the value. And if it keeps bleeding, obviously that's going to be definitely no longs. So that's, another thing that I look for. How far away are we from the actual value area? So when NYMEX hits in, 3 hours or so, if we're still around about these levels, and really we would need to open above 507, which is this GEX3 level from the options today. So we need to open above that in NYMEX in order for the mean reversion up to be in force. If we open below GEX3, I will still be looking for shorts, okay? So at that point, they might make an attempt to go higher, but one of the options levels might just smack it down, and that's going to be my orientation point to jump into a short. But for now, like I said, for me, this is longs at this point. We had a good reaction from ASR low, London low, but it wasn't sustained. That can happen too. We have some buyers stepping in here. Do I see anything on the dome? I need the full HK. It's HG. HK. What's HK? All right, so we have like 18 here, 23. Yeah, so they're trying. So let's try it now with 2, but what I'm going to do is do my partial, because again, this is all very risky here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take roughly the MAE, I'm going to do a partial stop. This is something I do. So if you were watching Code J the other day, he was like, oh, well, partial targets, why don't we use partial stop outs? I actually do use partial stop outs in certain situations like this. And I would do that even if I'm trading with 1 and 2 minis. So it's exactly the same approach. And in fact, trading micros in multiples, I would argue that it prepares you better for trading with multiple contracts than just trading with 1 mini and then not giving yourself any room to do anything. But hey. You're going long because you don't want to short here, do size down significantly when you do that. I get piped when I do that because I don't have the conviction. You see, I still use levels, right? So I have the 4-hour demand. I have exhaustion that already happened and had a limited reaction. I have another exhaustion slightly lower down. And I also have the projected minimum session range in the options. And that number is 504. So 504, where my partial stop out is. So let's move that down a little bit. There we go. Yeah, so yes, I do size down massively. In fact, if I'm trading minis and I still want to try a trade that I know is probably, like this one is not that odd because we are at the bottom of the range. Like I said, we have intraday exhaustion points. We have some GEX levels and options levels that are telling me perhaps this is not the best area for shorts, but longs could be in force. Now, to remind you to go up to the 4-hour chart, this is where I'm trying to get involved. The originating demand area from this entire range that we established over the last however many days, weeks, couple of weeks. So, if this breaks, we then have a proper trend down. Because of tariffs, because of a whole bunch of stuff, is that going to happen? Or are we just pausing before we carry on higher? Nobody knows, right? The wizards know. But, what I have right now on a technical perspective, because I'm a technician first, is that this area to me is not good for shorts. If we go up higher, yep, that would be great. But Right now it is where it is, right? So I can only work with the levels that I have here. Do I want it to go short and just not look back? Hey, that would be awesome, but that's not how trading works. Markets don't care. Adam says, I hate London sessions. Do you know what? London can be very challenging when you're trading products that are not London specific. I mean, let's have a look at what DAX is doing, because that's what I like to trade. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, DAX is not really firing on all. So this is DAX today. 152 ticks of movement, though. This looks like another potential setup for a liquidation. I'll be honest though, I don't like liquidation moves in equities. I really don't. I find them challenging to get in on, and I never know where to get in. So when I see something that's just like, first of all, we open DAX with a gap. Did ES open with a gap? Didn't even look. Did you open with a gap? Should I try and talk in my Eastern European accent for the rest of the stream? Did we open with a gap? Yes! Oh my god! We have a gap in equities. Oh god, okay. So now what's going to happen? Everybody will be going, hey, we have a gap. Are we going to fill it? Are we going to fill it? And that's going to be the point of contention for like the next week. So, is the gap going to get filled? Is the gap going to get filled? Are we going to fill the gap? But every time I see the market sort of going irrationally in one direction, I typically just stay out of it. Because I'm just like, I don't want any part in this. This is ridiculous. So yeah. More selling. So that dude that was buying 28 contracts, nothing. We have one here, targeting that 0390. Yeah, let's close this and wait. Wait. So we're going to be waiting now. Whenever I try this, doesn't matter how small a size, but whenever I try this, what I then do is I stick away from front running trades. Okay, so I try twice, doesn't quite work. I then wait for at least a 15-minute time frame to show me the reversal, if that's what I'm looking for, before I step into another trade. Sometimes even 30 minutes. So the more times you F it up, the higher the time frame you need to be looking at, because it means you're not getting the full context. Now, for me, I'm still in favor of longs here, but not without a stronger, slightly longer time frame involvement. So not 5 minutes, not 2 minutes, not 100 ticks, not 4 range bars, but literally like sustained reversal is going to show me that that is the right way. So it's not about not getting it wrong and not trying things and getting it wrong. It's about staying cool and limiting your downside so much that, you know, I don't put a hole into whatever I've got already today more than $200 or $300. Okay. Mark S-Man says, do you find that options levels are more relevant than any other indicators generally, or just another day? It's just another data point, okay? So it might, like, it depends how you look at it and how much you know about options. But for me, options just provide kind of like a cherry on top. It's like, okay, we have this thing here, and we've decided that we are going to adjust our inventory around GEX3. Now, whether they adjust it to the upside or downside, that is anyone's guess, okay? So it's another data point. If you find it useful, that's great. But I've also seen people that are trying to use every single GEX level, and getting absolutely slaughtered. So, you know, I don't use any and every GEX level. If I'm already in a trade, I might use a nearby GEX level for extra orientation. Are we going above it? Are we still rejecting it? In this case, we were clearly rejecting it. But because of the other indicators that are telling me it's an exhaustion area, I was still willing to run one of my hypotheses, which is longs from in and around this area and shorts from up here. Since I had nothing else at the time, the only reference point was the GEX3 level, right? There's nothing else. There's like ASR low, GEX3, and we tried to go above it, but on a 30-minute chart, we ultimately ended up as a very indecisive doji, and here we are again, lower low. But it's not to do, like, this is not in my plan. Shorting into exhaustion points is never in my plan. The only time I will short into these now is if the ADR low also gets, so I'm either a mean reversion trader or retracement trader. So you can, take it however you want. Even if it's a trending move, I still want a retracement somewhere that makes sense. So if we bust through all of the exhaustion areas, I can use the exhaustion points to run more shorts. But right now I don't have that data, okay? The MGI, market generated information, is telling me that we're still just in a potentially exhausted area, and we might turn around and shoot back up at any one point. I don't want to be on that side, I don't want oh yeah, we're still not exhausting statistical averages, but D is going to be doing shorts into them. You know what happened to me thousands of times when I've done that in the past? I'm like, yeah, this looks good. This is a directional move. And then in a flash of a second, they turn around and smack me on the face. I can't react. I can't do anything. And my full disaster stop gets hit. Disaster stop meaning 35 ticks for me in this situation. And, me not being, so one of the points of me using slightly larger stops that are still statistically viable in the day's range, it's because it allows me to cut trades early. That improves my net risk reward. Because, if you cut trades on average less than your full 1R, that will improve your net risk reward, your profit factor, right? So instead of just going, oh yeah, I'm aiming for 2, this is how some months I actually have more than 2R profit factor, right? Even though I usually only shoot for 2R. Depending on what's happening. Sometimes 3 if it's a trending move and I catch it pretty early, then I will extend it, sometimes even to 4 and 5. But it's, it's very contextual, and those days are rare. You're not going to get them every day. Let's have a look at platinum, because that's on my other screen, catching my eye, is going, D. Look at me. Is platinum in a better spot for reversals, for a short? Maybe. Already exhausted the ADR. Some minor GEX areas, so 1015 is GEX9 and GEX8 is 1020, which was the call resistance last week. And we opened, where did we open? Above value. Okay, interesting. Still inside the initial balance though, so that kind of breaks my, it breaks my heart. No, it breaks my rules of entering. You know what we're going to do? We're going to put on a Dolby hat on platinum. Now, platinum is it's a bit bigger. So it's like 5 micros. There's no micro contracts though on platinum. So have to be reasonably sure what you're doing. But yeah, for shorts, if I'm going to be short on metals, which metal has the highest probability of turning around sensibly? So platinum, we can snipe up to this level. Now notice that when I'm turning into a range trader, I don't necessarily go, I'm going to snipe it on both sides because I have a bias, right? I have a short bias on metals clearly today. even though I tried a long on copper. But platinum is nowhere near exhaustion point, so I can't quite do that. So I'm going to wait for 1020 to hit. Not the time, the price. Because that's where it turned around. That's where the Gex... What Gex? Gex 8. Minor Gex level still could be used as confluence. So another thing that I do if I can't quite figure out or get a better trade location in one thing, this is where I start looking at other things. So, move on, but it's not going to be like forever. It's not like, oh yeah, I move on from one to the next, and more, give me more. No, it's like I have like 5 or 6 attempts across like 3 or 4 products. And if I'm still sucking on the day, still can't make it work, I'm like, all right, Dee, go have a nap. Just don't. Adam says that I am from London. Adam, where do you normally trade? It's like, do you trade DAX? Because DAX is awesome for London. One of the reasons why we started these is because of the promise of DAX, and then nothing a year later. But yeah, I don't know whether you've already upvoted DAX. Right now I am actually trying to move out of London, but I am currently still in Battersea though. So yeah, still naturalized British over here. Mango High said, yeah, bro, I'm getting my butt kicked by ES here in London. What's the don't trade ES? Like, stop trading ES. Yeah. Gurab says, one should be all kind of a trader. If you restrict to one market, it will restrict all. Well, yeah. If you're a new trader, like you have to hone your skills on one thing. But then once you systematize that, it's very transferable to other things. And then it's just down to personal preference, Like, could I trade NQ? Yes. Do I want to? No. Why? Here we go. D with the NQ rant. Yay. Why? Because of the intra-candle nervousness that affects my mental health. Now, I'm probably the most stable person you will ever meet when it comes to mental health. Close to a psychopath on a lot of the days. But I don't like NQ. It's like I don't want to trade something that makes my trading life more miserable, right? I like trading. I think it's super fun. I adore it. I think it's the best thing since sliced bread. But I'm not going to trade a product that irks me and causes anxiety. If I have to pop a beta blocker before I start looking at a chart, something's not right. So, I try to make my trading as zen as possible, and I love leaving my trades in, right? I love to kick off a trade and F off for 3 hours. And then I come back and I'm like, oh, interesting. Okay. Right, getting to ADR low. We hunted the 390s. Let's have a look at that. I need to wait at least for a 15-minute time frame. So to see whether this 4-hour demand, do we hold it? Hold the line. Love is unknowing on time. Yeah, so I think we held the line, didn't we? Yeah, we held the low. Yeah, okay. So we're holding the low. Holding the line. Let's see what the 15-minute chart is doing. There's no anomalies. Like usually if we're going to get a good, strong reversal, not just like we're turning around and we're still turning around. Oh dear, are we turning around? Like, like old people trying to change direction. If you want like a quicker reversal, there needs to be some sort of anomalous amount of volume. On copper, we don't have that yet. So this is probably going to be quite slow, and I have to wait. This is where the delayed gratification comes in, rather than going right now. Like I tried it twice, tried a reversal twice, didn't work. So now I need to slow things down. Like the old people. How do you get multiple DOM and charts to show? Okay, so let's go through that quickly. IT support D, reporting for duty. So you see these little pluses. So let me get rid of this. And putting multiple charts and putting multiple DOMs are two separate issues. So let's go through the multiple DOMs first. The plus says add components. Okay, so you click on that, you go to DOM, click, hold, then drag. And it's going to give you this weird sort of rectangle thing with a whole bunch of arrows. You need to place it, if you want it at the edge, over there. And then it gives you, for some reason, anchors it to an ES chart, which I don't use, but I'm going to put full HG on there. I can see 53 contracts on 503, so that's still short. No longs for now. For the charts, if you have just one chart, you will likely have this rectangle on the top of your chart where sort of like symbol is 15-minute preferences, add chart link, blah, blah, blah. And then you get to this area and you say select layout. So that's where you can choose the layout for multiple charts. So here we go. I want 2, but if I want 4 or 3, so there's 3. Let's go crazy. Let's go 5, 4. Let's go 1 big one and 4 tiny ones. Or 3 tiny ones. Let's go 6. Hey, let's go crazy. Crazy. Let's go loads of them. Loads of charts. Oh my god, what is going on? But yeah, I like to keep it to about 2 or 3 maybe. You know, if I have like 3 or 4, I might sometimes, like what I do on my trading view, if I'm looking at options, like this is how that looks. So effectively it just puts like four charts, because Topstep is a white label trading view software. But yeah. So for this purposes, this purpose, I usually just stick to 2. Sometimes I will do this sort of a thing where, you know, maybe I'm looking at ES and then, you know, 2 other things. But generally, this is kind of the layout that I use. Hi everyone, any insight on copper? We've come into some exhaustion areas. I am generally bearish on metals this week because of the end of the month, at least for today. And Mondays sometimes can go the opposite way to the rest of the week. So that's a statistical observation that I've noticed across the board, especially in commodities. So for now, we're very short, but we're at an area where the exhaustion points are causing me trouble with further shorts. So I don't want to short it here. Maybe you want to rewind the stream and run it in like 2 times to catch up. Firman says, Dee, do you ever look at MBT? I really want to like trading it, but I do not. Join the club, man. I cannot do cryptos. First of all, I have a problem, like as an older person, as a Gen X person, I have a problem with crypto. Everybody's saying, it's the new safe haven. It's the new safe haven. But let's consider the following. Let's say an asteroid hits us, like totally out there. I've spoken about this before. Asteroid hits us. And we go Mad Max mode. And for the younger people, they'll be like, what? Mad Max? What is that? Go and watch the movies, right? You will know what I'm talking about. So, full semi-apocalypse mode, no internet, no nothing, barely electricity. We're all chasing each other in leather pauldrons and machete. How are you going to get your Bitcoin out? That's all I'm going to say. So gold, copper, you know, physical commodities that still exist in the world as actual things. I can see that becoming a new currency, right? That's why they've been traditionally safe havens. But, you know, anything that's kind of ethereal and not tangible, I have a problem with. Now, that's one thing. The second thing is that Bitcoin's price action does my head in. It still moves in the way where it kind of does one move and then sort of nothing. So I can't stomach that, right? I need to have either smooth movement or clear range bound. Whenever we are like sort of doing this one extra move and then nothing, it really irks me. Like this is the thing why I don't trade crude oil much these days, because it does the same, right? It does one move and then stops, and it does the entirety of the move in one go, in like 1 30-minute candle. I hate that, right? I would rather have it like bleeding like this so that I can jump on it than whatever MBT is doing. So, and for London, sometimes it's okay, and this looks like some big move, but you look at it on a 30-minute chart and it's just done absolutely nothing. So it's like, oh, it's a range, but you can't snipe it from both sides because it's spent 90 minutes bleeding down to this area. And it's like, come on. So crypto is not for me. And the third reason why I don't like crypto is because in the past, now obviously I've been on YouTube and Twitter for many years now, even though, I'm not like, I'm not the biggest channel, primarily because of first of all, I don't like doing like big adverts or anything like that, or, being very pushy and in people's faces. I basically just go, whoever finds me, they will find me. Okay. And, over the last 3 years, I've also suffered from a chronic illness, so I'm unable to, it affects my energy levels quite a lot. So I have to be very careful how much I work in a day. But before then, I was kind of doing quite a lot of videos. I was doing daily live streams. I was doing one video long form per week. I was even releasing like shorts and stuff. And then the whole chronic illness just hit me right across the face, and my life kind of changed forever. But with the crypto side of things, there have been people who are trying to defraud others using our names. I've had a guy that created a whole website making it look as if it's some sort of a signal service with a whole bunch of people. And then he put my little Bob the Chameleon that you guys see as my mascot on my channel. He put Bob at the top and said Deeyana Angelo. I actually used my name, even though at the time I did not use my full name. I was using Marcus Stalkers, and yeah, I was just going D by D. So it's like, how did this person even know that was my name? It's fucking scary, right? Sorry to drop the F-bomb, but it's scary stuff, right? Because it's like, who is this? And the way I found out about it is by a girl DMing me and saying, hey, I didn't receive the payment for the signals. And I was like, excuse me? I was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I don't have a signal service. Like, I'm not a CTA. And she's like, oh no. And I went, oh no, what's going on? I don't get it. So she sent me a link, and I was just flabbergasted at the amount of sort of effort that went into that. And then there's still one person on Instagram who has a he copied my whole content and then started following my husband under that name, not knowing that this person was my husband. So on my business channel, I don't follow my personal people, right? They might follow me, but I don't follow them because it's business and I don't want to be bothering them with my business side. And, okay, here's that reversal that we're talking about. Let's stick around for a little bit longer because I'm going to try it now here. 2 lots, nothing crazy. Sort of still front running this because we're coming to the end of the stream. So I wanted to kind of illustrate the idea. And it's not going to be a 100-tick move because, like I said, I'm only shooting to get a little bit of a positive risk reward here and then bail. But yeah, so the level of mastery that an effort that goes into those sort of sites is quite something, and they're all crypto related. So if I suddenly go, yeah, I'm going to trade crypto, it's going to add a whole bunch of confusion. And not to mention that this poor girl actually got taken for a ride for like $5,000 because she was like not really paying attention that I was saying on my channel, I don't trade crypto, be careful, I'm not a crypto trader, I won't be trading. She didn't see that. She just saw, oh, you're really good at trading, let me sign up to your service. And I'm like, what service would that be? And I was like, please say course, please say course. And she was like, well, no, your thing. And I'm like, oh God. So to avoid confusion, I will probably never get involved in anything crypto for all of the above reasons that I mentioned. Okay, a few people here starting to buy. Come on, somebody wanting something on the dome to the upside. Come on, let's hunt. Let's hunt. But yeah, so crypto and me, no. Yeah, Andrew says, I can't go and buy a loaf of bread or a pint of beer with it. Yeah, that's very true. As straight as Bitcoin is for shorting, Omar tells us, you wait for the one move and then ride the slide back. Yeah, that's a strategy. I don't want it, but whoever wants to trade crypto, hey, maybe that's the strategy. You wait for a pop and then you fade it. Kind of like what we used to do with NFP, right? NFP and fade. That was the big thing back in the day. Yeah. Please, what are we trading right now? We're trading copper, micro copper. Yeah. Gurav says, Deeyana, one must trade like the institutional, not like the retailers do. Yeah, I would argue against that because institutional right now, because before market makers used to be the pit guys like Hogue, Hoop, Eddie, those were the market makers. Now it's the HFTs, and the HFTs cost a lot of money. Proper HFTs, those that trade with size, those that have lightning fast executions. Like, first of all, that sort of a direct access to the exchange is a pretty penny. And then the servers that take that much speed, they're like $1 million just to maintain per year. Just to maintain, not to actually trade with. Just maintenance of those servers. If you want to set them up, that's like millions and millions, because it's like rooms of servers. Like a data center. It's terrible. Trading Nickel says, I will always own crypto, and yes, while you can spend it, who actively spends investments? There are stable coins that I'm in and out of for temporary savings. Yeah, I'm just always thinking from the point of view when, and I don't know how old you are, Trading Nickels, but you do realize that you can't take it to with you. Not to say to the grave, but, like personally, I don't, I don't have human children. I have 8 dogs, and by the time that comes my time, runs out on this earth, I don't know. I just don't, I have investments, but every so often I use those investments to buy some property or something nice. I'm not much of a money hoarder. I will say that. It's like I have what I need. I've got to that point in my life because, with a chronic illness, I can't go anywhere. I used to buy shoes. I wear slippers these days 9 times out of 10. Come on, Copper, do something so I can finish the stream. Jesus Christ. Just put me out of my misery. Yeah, let's just stick around for another... Let's stay for another 10 minutes. And then if it doesn't move, it doesn't move. It's fine. But yeah, so, with me having a very reduced social existence, or no social existence apart from the dog walks, that's it. Very occasional dinner, but it's really, really tiring for me. Like, I have a dinner, then I crash for 2 days. It's like lovely. It's just not worth it for me. So I don't know. When I look at it from that point of view, it's like, what am I gonna do with anything? What, buy a McLaren so I can stuff the dogs, 8 dogs everywhere, muddy and stuff. Like, because at one point I was thinking, yeah, I would like to own a McLaren, and then this whole thing hit me, and it just changed my outlook on life, like, completely. Oh wow, it looks, I'm looking at CL and it looks so much better than ES during London hours. Meh. Yeah, it's better than NYMEX hours for CL, I can tell you that. Today is not a normal day. So today, Mango Heist is the final day of the month, which means that we're probably going to be seeing more liquidation or positioning moves than we normally do. It's not like copper and platinum are the two things that move the best consistently. Everything else moves sometimes, and then you have watching paint dry, like for very, very long periods of time. Yeah, everybody, I know, Gaurav, yeah. Whenever I say I have 8 dogs, they go, I'm sorry, 8? It's always... Yes, 8. I loved dogs even before we had the crazy puppies. For those of you who don't know the story, we always had like 2 dogs, right? So our senior boy, the Cavapom Rescue, he left us unfortunately due to, partly old age, but he actually ate something at the park during COVID and it trashed his kidneys. It was very traumatic, very sudden. We didn't really expect it. And then both us and our surviving King Charles Cavalier was very sad. I actually have videos from that time where, I was still running like the weekly strategy videos very regularly on my channel, which you can find down below this video. I don't do them regularly anymore. I do them like once in a blue moon when I feel like I have enough energy. But yeah, so we were all super distraught. So we pretty much within a month of him leaving us, we had to get another dog because our Cavalier was just beside himself. I thought I was going to lose him too. It was terrible. He was like throwing up every day, like really sad. And so we got him a Pomeranian female, and she was sort of a half rescue. We were very lucky to get her. So that's the gray little doggy that you see in some of my videos. She's very excitable. She's like, every time I hold her, she's like, oh, I'm so happy to be here. Oh my God, what's going on? Like she's so feisty, it's so cute. So he got really smitten with her, and we wanted puppies. We wanted more Cavapoms. I tried looking for Cavapoms everywhere, could not find them. So we let them breed a year after we got her. So we had her for a whole year and everything. Then, obviously the nature took its course. And we took her for a scan, and they said, oh, we can, don't worry, Pomeranians have small litters. Like, don't worry, you don't have to, prepare yourself to sell them or anything like that, because they're only going to be, like, probably 2 or 3 pups, if that. Sometimes they only have 1. We're like, okay, so we take her for a scan. They do a scan, and they go, okay, there's definitely 2 puppies. 2 puppies in there. Lies! There's 6. Total lies. And on the day, she starts popping them out in like the space of like half an hour. And we were kind of unprepared. Obviously, we didn't set anything in place. It's kind of still partial lockdowns everywhere, end of 2021. It's like, are we going to have Christmas? Are we not going to have Christmas? Is it going to be lockdowns? Like chaos everywhere, right? So it's not like you could get people in your house to come and see them at that point. So by the time that the 6th one was born, we just looked at each other, and as they were coming out, we were naming them. That don't do that, right? Because as a result, I will probably never have another litter of puppies ever again, because okay, this is not doing what I wanted to do. So I'm going to give up on these longs. I'm going to go and do something else for a while, and basically try and fish it once we have a proper retracement, because I'm not liking this. And that's the story of us ending up with 8 dogs. By the time that the 6th one came out, everybody had names, and everybody had their own little characters. So we couldn't let them go. And hey presto, my life is home. Just joking. No, just joking. We love them. It's a lot of work, but we trained everybody individually, and they get a bit loud and rowdy, but they also provide us with a lot of comedy throughout the day. We finally have 2 dogs, or 8 dogs that play with each other, which we never had before, because our first 2 were like there was like social distancing at all points because of my Minty, who was like, don't touch me, don't. You stay that side of the house, this is my side of the house. We don't cross paths. And if you cross paths, I will growl at you. Not seriously, but just in annoyance. And now we have puppies that play tug of war. They romp over each other and everything. So, it's great. Anyways, guys, not too much to see today. So obviously copper just bleeding. So I remain short biased. If I can catch this somehow, we are bleeding through the ADR low now. If we get a retracement of that, ideally maybe, at least 504, because that was the last point of a stutter. So if we look at this from a supply and demand point of view, this is the first point that we need to defend. And then if by some miracle, it actually turns around and carries on through, then some of these original areas will become possible. But for now, it looks like it's a bearish day. So I'm going to have a break. Then I'm going to try and do something in my live. On the short side, very likely. Maybe even a little platinum trade. But yeah, it is the end of the month. It is the liquidation day. Check out some of our traders in Topstep. We have a whole bunch of people on Discord. I'm not going to be able to give you links because the Google just kicked me out. It didn't kick me out from the entire session, and it just kicked me out. But yeah, check out Discord. Check out a whole bunch of rooms in there. We run sessions every single day. And yeah, let's see what the end of the month brings. Expect weirdness, because it is the 31st. And I will see you again tomorrow for another edition of the London session. I'm Deeyana Angelo, aka Marcus Dee. This has been the London session on TopstepTV. Take care.